Petr Yan has fired back at Merab Dvalishvili following a heated exchange between the two fighters that unfolded on social media this week. The situation escalated after Yan defeated Merab at UFC 3, a fight that initially appeared to end on respectful terms. The day after the bout, fans noticed friendly messages exchanged online between the two, suggesting there was no lingering tension. However, that perception quickly changed after Yan addressed the situation in a follow-up interview. Yan clarified that the post-fight social media messages were not written directly by him but were handled through his manager. This revelation did not sit well with Merab, who publicly accused Yan of being dishonest and misleading fans. Merab took to social media and strongly criticized Yan, calling him a liar and questioning his sincerity. In response, Yan explained in detail how his communication process works with his manager. He stated that his manager never posts anything without his approval and always consults him before responding to other fighters. According to Yan, his manager sends him the comments or statements made by opponents, and together they decide how to respond. Yan emphasized that the final message always reflects his own position, even if the tone is adjusted. Yan added that his manager often attempts to soften the language of responses to avoid unnecessary conflict. In some cases, parts of statements are intentionally left untranslated so Yan does not react emotionally in the heat of the moment. Yan admitted that this has led to disagreements between him and his manager, as he prefers to know exactly what is being said about him, word for word. He believes full transparency is important, even if it leads to stronger emotions, addressing Merab directly. Yan questioned what Merab expected following the fight. He made it clear that just because the fight was over, it did not mean they were suddenly going to become friends. Yan expressed frustration with what he described as excessive and nonsensical talk from Merab, suggesting that the Georgian fighter was creating unnecessary drama. Yan concluded by stating that he does not understand what Merab ultimately wants from this situation. From Yan's perspective, the rivalry remains competitive and tense, and there is no obligation for mutual friendliness after such a high-stakes bout. His response made it clear that while professionalism remains important, honesty and authenticity matter more to him than maintaining a false image of post-fight harmony. Henry Cejudo has revealed that Alexandre Pantoja has been dealing with lingering elbow issues that date back several years, stemming from a motorcycle accident earlier in his career. Speaking candidly, Cejudo explained that the injury has been a long-term concern and may continue to impact Pantoja's performance at the highest level of competition. According to Cejudo, he has known Pantoja for nearly a decade and is familiar with the physical challenges he has faced during that time. He noted that an elbow dislocation of that nature can place a significant burden on a fighter's career, especially in a demanding division like flyweight, where speed, grappling exchanges, and constant scrambles are critical. Cejudo went on to suggest that the flyweight division could see frequent changes at the top due to both injuries and the depth of talent currently emerging. He emphasized that there are many fighters in the division who are being underestimated and that fans may be overlooking how competitive the weight class has become. In his view, the current landscape has the potential to turn flyweight into one of the most competitive divisions in the UFC, particularly with younger contenders pushing forward and established champions managing long-term wear and tear. In addition to discussing Pantoja, Cejudo also gave strong credit to Petr Yan for his recent performance. He praised Yan for defeating Merab Dvalishvili and reclaiming the UFC Bantamweight championship, highlighting Yan's composure and technical discipline during the fight. Cejudo pointed out that Yan was not significantly hurt throughout the bout and handled Merab's pressure effectively. While Yan absorbed a few right hands, Cejudo stressed that none of the strikes caused serious damage or disrupted Yan's control of the fight. Cejudo noted that Yan stayed grounded in his approach, maintained his position in the center of the octagon, and forced the fight to take place on his terms. This, he explained, demonstrated Yan's maturity and growth as a fighter. He also reflected on Yan's championship journey, recalling that Yan first captured the title during the period when Cejudo had stepped away from competition. Cejudo acknowledged that Yan initially won the belt in 2020 and after years of setbacks and challenges managed to reclaim championship status roughly 5 years later. Cejudo concluded by expressing admiration for Yan's perseverance, stating that returning to the top after such a long and difficult path is extremely rare in the sport. He admitted that he did not believe such a comeback was possible, offering respect and praise for Yan's achievement. Sean O'Malley has shared his thoughts on a potential rematch with Petr Yan, making it clear that he believes it would be the biggest fight currently available in the Bantamweight division. Speaking openly about the current landscape, O'Malley explained that much depends on how upcoming bouts play out, including his own scheduled fight against Song Yadong at UFC 324. He suggested that if Merab Dvalishvili had won and he were to defeat Song, he would not immediately push for a title shot, acknowledging that he might need one more victory to fully earn that opportunity. O'Malley reflected on his previous fight with Petr Yan and emphasized that he still holds a win over the former champion. He pointed out that he is officially undefeated against Yan and highlighted a moment from their bout that he feels is often overlooked. According to O'Malley, he successfully completed a takedown at the end of the first round, a move he described as clean and well executed, even though it was not officially counted. He expressed frustration that this moment is rarely discussed, insisting that it demonstrated an important aspect of his performance. While discussing other potential matchups, O'Malley acknowledged that there are several exciting fights that could be made in the division. He specifically mentioned a possible matchup between Umar Nurmagomedov and Petr Yan, calling it an entertaining and high-level fight. O'Malley stated that he would not be upset if the UFC chose to make that bout, recognizing its appeal to fans and its competitive value. However, he maintained that as exciting as that matchup would be, it still would not surpass the magnitude of a rematch between himself and Yan. O'Malley made it clear that his focus remains on finishing Song Yadong in his upcoming fight. He expressed confidence that a strong and decisive performance would set the stage for a high-profile showdown. In his view, if he goes out and secures a finish, the most logical and compelling next step would be a title rematch with Petr Yan on a major stage. He emphasized that a rematch with Yan for the Bantamweight title, potentially at a landmark event such as a White House card, would eclipse any other option in the division. O'Malley stated that he struggles to see how any other fight could be considered bigger in terms of interest, stakes, and star power. He concluded by reaffirming his belief that there is no matchup in the Bantamweight division that matches the significance of a Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan rematch for the championship. Paddy Pimblett has responded to recent comments made by Nate Diaz after Diaz suggested that he would be interested in fighting Pimblett next. The exchange began when Diaz was asked about potential opponents, and he casually mentioned Paddy as a possible matchup. The remark immediately drew attention, given Diaz's status as one of the most recognizable figures in combat sports and Pimblett's growing popularity in the UFC. When Diaz was questioned about his future plans, he appeared relaxed and informal, briefly addressing who he might face next. He referenced Paddy Pimblett by name, signaling interest in the matchup without offering many details. The comment was delivered in Diaz's typical laid-back style, but it was enough to spark conversation among fans and media, who quickly began speculating about whether such a fight could realistically take place. The video also captured lighthearted banter involving predictions about other fights, with Diaz jokingly suggesting that money was on Paul and adding humor by acknowledging that anything could happen in a fight. The tone of the exchange remained casual, blending humor with subtle competitive tension, which is characteristic of Diaz's public persona. Pimblett did not respond with words, but instead chose a visual reaction. After the clip circulated online, Paddy left a comment featuring a gif of himself giving a double thumbs up. The response was widely interpreted as playful and confident, signaling that he welcomed the attention and was not intimidated by the idea of facing Diaz. Rather than escalating the situation with trash talk, Pimblett's reaction suggested openness to the matchup while keeping the interaction light and entertaining. The exchange reflects Pimblett's growing presence in the sport and his ability to engage with high-profile names in a way that resonates with fans. By responding humorously, Pimblett reinforced his image as a confident and charismatic figure who understands the entertainment side of fighting. While no official fight has been announced, the interaction has fueled discussion and curiosity, leaving fans intrigued by the possibility of seeing these two personalities cross paths in the future. Dan Hooker has issued a strong warning to Benoit Saint-Denis as he looks for a quick return to competition following his recent loss. Hooker is eager to bounce back after suffering a submission defeat to Arman Tsarukyan last month at UFC Qatar and has made it clear that he is already focused on his next challenge. Despite the setback, Hooker insists he is fit, healthy, and motivated to face another dangerous contender in the lightweight division. In a recent interview with Sporting News Australia, Hooker spoke candidly about his mindset and intentions. He explained that he is drawn to fights against hungry contenders who are chasing championship aspirations. According to Hooker, his goal in these matchups is to disrupt that momentum entirely by inflicting damage and derailing their progress. He emphasized that he wants to impose physical punishment, take years off his opponent's career, and leave them questioning their future. From his perspective, that is his role at this stage of his career. Hooker also addressed concerns about his condition following the loss to Tsarukyan. He stated that he feels strong and fully recovered, noting that he returned to the gym and resumed sparring shortly after the fight. He credited his conditioning to the rigorous 5-round training camp he completed prior to the bout. Hooker acknowledged that undergoing 2 hand surgeries back-to-back forced him into a lengthy recovery period, but he believes that time away has only increased his desire to compete. After a year and a half on the sidelines, he returned to face the #1 contender, a fighter many others were hesitant to face, which further reinforced his confidence. The following day, Hooker doubled down on his message during another interview with Main Event TV, this time delivering his warning in a more joking but equally ominous tone. He explained that he does not enter fights with concern for his own health and safety, and once his opponents recognize that mentality, their demeanor changes. Hooker described his approach as one of mutual violence, where both fighters are willing to absorb damage in order to give it back. He believes that once Saint-Denis realizes he is facing someone who truly does not care about getting hurt, the psychological shift becomes visible. Hooker's kill or be killed mindset has long been a defining trait of his fighting style and is a major reason his bouts are often fan favorites, especially in striker versus striker matchups. While this mentality consistently delivers excitement, it also raises concerns about the long-term toll such wars can take. As Hooker continues his career, fans can only hope that his willingness to endure damage does not come at too great a cost later in life. Manel Kape has recently found himself at the center of controversy after being accused by fans online of using performance-enhancing drugs. The discussion began when a new photo of Kape in his UFC Fight Week outfit circulated on social media. Shortly after the image surfaced, some members of the MMA community began speculating about his appearance, specifically pointing to what they believed looked like signs of gynecomastia. Gynecomastia refers to the enlargement of male breast tissue and is commonly associated with hormonal imbalances. While there are many natural and medical causes, some fans claim that it can also be linked to PID use, arguing that excess testosterone can convert into estrogen and potentially lead to this condition. It is important to note that these claims are purely speculative and based on fan interpretation of a single photograph. There has been no official confirmation, medical diagnosis, or failed drug test to support these accusations. Many observers pointed out that Kape's physique does not appear unusually extreme for a professional flyweight competing at the highest level. Aside from having noticeably developed pectoral muscles, his build looks consistent with that of an elite athlete. Despite this, the accusations quickly gained traction, and the backlash intensified as jokes and edited images began circulating online. Some social media users mocked Kape by sharing photoshopped images, including one depicting him wearing a sports bra. Others made sarcastic comments suggesting broadcasting regulations would require his chest to be covered during competition. Several remarks went further, directly accusing him of steroid use and predicting defeat as punishment for alleged cheating. These comments reflect the often harsh and exaggerated nature of online discourse within the MMA community. The situation has drawn comparisons to a similar episode involving Israel Adesanya in 2020, when he was also accused of having gynecomastia. At that time, one of Adesanya's pectoral muscles appeared noticeably larger, which led to widespread ridicule and PED speculation. Like Kape, Adesanya was never found guilty of any wrongdoing, and the accusations remained unproven. As of now, there is no evidence that Manel Kape has violated any anti-doping regulations. He remains an active UFC fighter in good standing, and the claims circulating online are based solely on appearance and fan opinion. Whether the physical feature in question is due to genetics, natural hormonal variation, or simple lighting and camera angles remains unknown. The debate has sparked discussion among fans about how quickly fighters are accused without proof and whether such speculation has become too normalized. Ultimately, the question remains open, and opinions vary widely. Fans are left to decide for themselves whether they believe the accusations hold weight, or if this is simply another case of internet overreaction driven by speculation rather than facts.